I'm Robin Da Vinci, and I want to talk a little bit about working from home, working remotely, and how it can be beneficial during these times of inflation and for cost cutting. I know there are some horror stories out there about owners of companies who said, yes, you can work from home, you can work remotely full time, and people made extreme life changes because of that. And then the owner of the company said, nope, got to come back to the office. And all these people made these changes, and now they're out of luck. So here are the benefits of working remotely full-time with your employer's permission. Obviously, commuting costs are cut down and your wardrobe can change. Working from home means that, maybe you just have some nice shirts, and who knows if you even have to go on a Zoom call, and maybe you just get dressed up for the Zoom call, but you're working from home. And so you don't have to have a wardrobe and shoes and all those glamorous things. And not having to commute cuts down on gasoline, obviously, and mileage. I know I get a mileage break now because I don't put very many miles on my automobile. And that's a nice little discount from insurance companies because they believe the more you're on the road, the more likely it is that you will get in an accident or have an incident that they have to pay for. So working from home often helps out your auto insurance. Meals, you don't have to get meals out. You don't have to prepare meals to take to work. That's a real plus. I mean, that is a real plus. Meals are a big, big expense. And childcare, working from home, if your employer is not really strict, working from home allows you to take your kids to school, pick them up from school, have them in a room if they're sick, and you can work, but they're right in the room next door and you can help them if they're ill. If you have an assurance, and I'm telling you that you need to get it in writing, if someone says it, speaks it out loud, but doesn't put it in writing, it can be taken back. What you want in writing, that you are an employee that is allowed to work full-time from home. Now make sure that in that they don't say, well, quarterly you need to come for a meeting, or once a month you're going to have to drive to our place for a meeting. So when you decide where you're going to live, because you can work remotely, make sure that you've got those items figured out. Like, okay, once a month you have to fly from Illinois to Seattle, from your place in Illinois that you moved to Seattle for a meeting once a month. How much does that cost, and does the company pay for it? Or because you're working from home, are you expected to incur that charge? So that will change a little bit if they have some expectation of you going to the office. The other thing is, really make sure that if you were living in a state that pays high wages and you are told you can work remotely, that you don't move to a lesser area in a different state and then your high dollar state says, we're going to pay you the wages of the state you live in. That has happened to millions of people where they said, oh, I make $250,000 a year in this state because that's what it costs to live in that state. I'm going to move to Kansas where the cost of living is less, and I'm going to make that high dollar salary. And then you have your owner or CEO say, oh, by the way, we're cutting your salary because you moved to an area and we're going to pay you commensurate with the salary in that state. That's a big thing. You have to understand working remotely has its privileges, but it also has its downside. You have to understand that your cable bill, you may need more internet. You might be using more utilities. If you had your computer at work and your company was paying for all the electricity and now you're paying for all the electricity, that makes a really, really big deal. Is there a potential to make more money from working at home? Sometimes, especially you can work 2 part-time jobs from home and those 2 part-time jobs pay a lot of money, then you'll be in good shape. But I mean it, work out the details. Please don't fall prey to the, oh, I make all this money in this state, so I'm going to move to that state, work remotely, and make that big amount of money and make a killing, and then have your employer find out that you're working in a state that pays only 1/3 of the salary that their state does, and they want to reduce your salary. Make sure you get things in writing. Working remotely can be a privilege, but there can always be a downside, and I want you to be aware of the downside. So be clear If you're allowed to work remotely and you're an employee, get all of those terms in writing. I hope that this helps, because the plus side of working from home is big. The downside can harm you, and I don't want anybody harmed because they didn't ask the questions and get the terms in writing. It's okay to have an employee contract, and you want it all spelled out. So I hope this helps. Please like and subscribe. Let me know what you think. If you have any further questions, feel free to ask. Thank you.